And definitely not a minivan with 3 flat tires. Put yourself in Egbert's shoes. I mean, as the man of the family, he probably felt responsible for getting them all into this jam. And once the van got bogged down, he had to think fast and figure out what to do. With 2 small children and not a lot of food or water, they didn't have much time to figure it out before the situation got dire. Their options were basically limited to a few possibilities. They could stay with the van and hope they were spotted and rescued, but that seemed pretty unlikely since they were in such a remote part of Death Valley. Alternately, they could have just hiked back here to the geologist's cabin, which was only 4 miles from where their van got stuck and has plenty of food, running water, and shelter. And in retrospect, that makes the most sense. But I'm guessing they still felt like they could get out of here faster and still make their flights on time if they just headed for help on foot. Even going on foot, they had a couple of options. They could have hiked back down Warm Springs Canyon all the way to the mine camp, which was visited more often than Butte Valley, and they probably could have found help there eventually, but maybe not soon enough to make their flight. What they probably ended up doing, and this was all formulated by the guy who wrote that awesome blog post and tried to get inside Egbert's head, was to hike through the mountains to the southeast, where China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station was marked on the map. Being from Europe, the adults were probably used to military bases being fenced off and patrolled regularly, so they must have figured if they could just get to the perimeter of the base, they could get the attention of one of the guards and get help. But what they didn't realize was military bases out here in the desert are totally different from military bases in Europe. China Lake in particular is vast, something like the size of Rhode Island, and there's no perimeter fence and certainly no guard patrol. So even if they could have managed to make it to the perimeter of the base, they would have had many, many, many more miles to hike before they even reached a paved road. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. They were probably already miles from the minivan and the relatively nearby geologist's cabin. They were out of water. It was likely well over 100 degrees. And sadly, they probably succumbed to heat stroke. It would have been a horrible way to die, utterly alone, out in the middle of this vast, empty, broiling desolation. Of course, we don't really know what happened because they left no written records, but thanks to the author of that blog post and his search and rescue buddies making multiple search trips down here on their own dime, Connie's wallet and remains were eventually located way, way, way out in a lonely valley, about 5 miles to the southeast of the van, in the direction of the China Lake base. Other bones were also found nearby and tested, and are believed to be Egbert's. Who succumbed first? No one can really say. But as far as we know, no remains of the 2 little boys were ever found.